YouTube, thanks for stopping by the channel and thanks for clicking play today. Today I'm going to bring you guys something special. So at the beginning of my channel, I didn't have a lot of followers, I didn't have a lot of subscribers, but I did a video and it just didn't do very well just because, I didn't have a big footprint. I, wasn't out there yet. We weren't doing the live stream with Justin. So, we were really a small channel, but it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. And I think, now that we've got a little bit of a bigger footprint, we've got more of you guys following along. And I think you guys are going to like this because not only is this a really cool truck, but it's just got a great story behind it. This is actually a 1972 C10 that was my uncle's pickup that he was working with my son about going to restore it. It was all in pieces. It was originally a 350 truck. It was, in his garage in, 1,000 pieces. And he got sick before he and my son were actually able to start working on this truck. And then he ended up going through, he had heart surgery and then he dealt with cancer and some other things. And then he passed and we never got to actually do that. But he would send my son home and say, hey, before we get work on this, you need to know the firing order of a Chevy small block V8. So, my son would go look it up, come back, tell him, he would say, you would need to know now, go home and look up how do you find tap dead center on a small block Chevy. So he was teaching my son and getting him prepared to be able to work with him on this. And he, they just never got to that. But when he passed, this truck ended up coming to me and my son, and we got to a point where we decided we were going to restore it and restore it how he would want it done, how he had always talked about doing that. And we're about to get into that, guys. But if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe. Help us keep growing this channel and bringing you more content like this. We're going to get into the review today and kind of go over the story, and I'm going to show you this truck. All right, so opening the hood here, you guys can see this is no longer a 350 small block truck. This is actually a 454 big block. It does have the stock iron heads. I do have some dart heads that I have to get done that were on a separate motor that we ended up not using on this because we got this motor just basically turnkey from a fellow who was taking it out of his Nova to put in a 572 big block. So we went ahead and we got this. We got a smoking deal on this. So we went ahead and picked this up. It does have a mild cam in it. You guys will get to hear that. Edelbrock Performer 2.0 intake, and it has now, which was one of the reasons why I did the first video, which we're talking about the Terminator X Max system from Holley. So we are actually on EFI. Now, if you look real closely, you're not going to be able to see at first glance, if you're not a car person, that is not a carburetor on the top there, that is actually the Terminator X Max EFI system. So with the, and I do have a bigger air cleaner, please don't knock me for that, but the fuel injection looks like the carburetor, right? We redid everything. Again, master cylinder, the brake booster, everything. It's all new. We do have the front discs, rear drums. We redid the front disc. We redid the entire front suspension. I'll let you guys hear this here in just a second. But again, just kind of that we now have a EFI system on this truck. And again, with this, the problem was cold starts, and then sometimes, loss of vacuum with like hot starts that we've been going and going. But anyway, now you don't have that problem. You just put your key in it, crank it over, boom, it goes, and it sounds amazing. I'll let you guys hear that here in just a second. One thing I will say here that I'm going to have to do in the future, I do have the factory gas tank replacement that I put in. The old gas tank, obviously, was just full of old gunk and grime and everything. So I do have the replacement gas tank that was a new stamping that is in the original location, which is behind the seat. But I am going to end up moving that out behind underneath the bed in the back, just because you do get fumes in here. If you leave it shut with the windows up for a long time and you open it up and you're just going to smell fuel, that's just how it is. And again, just kind of, I know they're safe. I know it's not an issue, but still having the fuel tank at the back underneath the bed and not sitting right behind you just makes me feel a little bit better. But that also opens up, we can push this seat back a little bit, give us a little bit more room. But that is one thing I am going to do because that is the downside of the way these trucks were originally designed with the fuel tank behind the seat. All right, I'm going to crank this over. Then we're going to do our once around. engine off and you can hear a little bit better. He did replace the radio. Again, look how old that is. Tapes. A lot of you folks that are watching don't even know what tapes are. A lot of you do. But I have the original radio in a box, and I also have one that looks just like the original 72 radio, but it's digital and it has Bluetooth and all that. So that will be cool to get that installed, so that way we can have some tunes in here. I've kind of done some of the wiring for it already, but we'll get to that. But we can have the tunes in here, have Bluetooth, so we can talk on the Bluetooth. Not that you're really going to be able to hear, but hey, whatever, right? We have the convenience. Not an AC truck, but it does have the sliders here for the heat. It has the, you can see them underneath there, the panels. You pull the handle, it opens up, it brings fresh air in. Also has the quarter windows that you can see on here. This is your air conditioning, obviously, right? So 60, what is it, 60 by 2 windows down, 60 miles an hour. That's what kind of AC it is. The lights work. The wipers actually worked. Even when I picked up, as soon as I put a battery in, the wipers still worked from the original. It's pretty awesome. And then again, kind of moving out so you can see more of the truck. One of the things I want to show you now that the engine's off here, we did a dual fan, massive radiator, just because we knew we were going to be putting a big block in here. My uncle always wanted a big block, always talked about a big block truck, and when the opportunity came to buy this big block and put it in, you know, we already had the fan set up that we knew. We actually, it was a little bit too far into the engine compartment, a little bit too wide. So actually what we did was we took it off and modified it a little bit and then pushed the fans in just about a 1/4 inch. But no cooling issues whatsoever with this truck, with this big old radiator in here. And again, you know, the only thing, like I said, the steering column, like, you know, replace that on the up part, or the upper part here. But everything is new. You know, we got the long tube headers in there. You know, all the wiring from the front and back, obviously with the Terminator, with the wiring harnesses, but everything's been restored frame off. Basically, we took this apart, we sandblasted the frame, we painted it here at the house, and then we slowly put everything back together as we went there. But just wanted to show you that now with the engine not running, just how much cooling there is. We also have, you can see here, a trans cooler that we run up to keep the transmission fluid cool as well on that end. And we were going to run a separate oil cooler because originally we had a Gen 4 block, and we ended up getting this one, which is a Gen 5 block on the big one that does not have the separate oil cooler. But we're actually going to run another oil cooler here. I actually still have it in the garage, but we're going to run that. But we're running a trans cooler. Trans temps are never, ever, ever an issue. And of course, you know, look at this giant radiator here. We, you know, and the amount of air that thing moves with those dual fans, we never have cooling issues whatsoever with that. The other thing I wanted to show you guys real quick was the mag wheels here. You know, these were on it when we got it from my uncle. My uncle picked these up years and years ago. They don't even make these. They're made by Western. I do have the center caps in the garage. They're almost impossible to find, so I don't have them on the truck. I only put them on when I show up. But you can also see the CPP, Classic Performance Parts, the disc power brake upgrade. So we did new calipers, we did new hubs, we did new A-arms, we did new everything, new bump stops, we did new everything. So but we wanted to keep those wheels because they were, you know, original to how my uncle had the truck. So again, and I love the look of this. When I was a kid, like, this was like Dukes of Hazzard kind of look. I know some of you may not be old enough to know who Dukes of Hazzard is. Some of you may. But all in all, though, the look of these wheels on this truck and the stance, we did do 2-inch lowering spindles in the front with the big block springs, which brings it down nicely. And you can see how the rake is just a tiny bit here in the back, and we have some lowering springs here in the back that we've put on as well. But the stance on this truck right now is absolutely perfect. Could it go a little lower? Yeah, a lot of people like them even lower, but with the long tubes under the bottom, I mean, I don't know if we can see this from the side, but you might be able to, you know, with the exhaust and the long tubes. You know, one thing we did not want to do was end up running into ground clearance issues, which we've done a pretty good job of avoiding altogether. And you can see how we have the exhaust just kind of pulled out there. It basically empties either side just about right here. We have the cutoffs that come out here, so on that. But you know, this truck is very torquey. It's got a lot of torque. It runs great. I've never had any issues with it now that we have the Terminator put on it at all. But just wanted to kind of bring you guys this and then just kind of go over the story of the build, because it was such a great opportunity to not only spend good time with my son, but also to pay tribute to my uncle, because he's one of the main reasons I'm into cars. Grew up, he and my dad just wrenching. All right, so one of the last things I want to talk about is the vanity plate on here. So this is for WeWo. So when my younger brother, when we were little, my uncle's name was Lloyd, and my brother was unable for some reason to say Lloyd, and it came out WeWo, and it just stuck WeWo. My kids called my uncle WeWo. We called him WeWo even as adults. Anyway, so when we were talking about this and what we were going to do with a vanity plate standpoint, with my son, he came up with the idea of doing 4 WeWo. And again, this is such a special truck to us because of the story behind it and the amount of, it took me 2 years, guys, 2 years here in this garage right to my left to do this restoration myself and do all of this. We did just about every part of it here. We did have some help with had some friends come over and help us get some of the heavier things done. At the time, I had just torn a rotator cuff, so lifting some of the heavier stuff was not an option. But just a great story, guys. I mean, you know, I know the first video I did was probably a little more in-depth, may have been a little bit more. I'm going to put some flybys in here so you can see them. I'll put some of the restoration pictures up here so you guys can see them as well, and I'll voice over for those. But, you know, this story needs to be told, and I just felt, you know, with the channel being smaller, when we first put out the video, we were going to do a reboot on this. And I'll give you just a walk around here as it's running all the way around 360 degrees, and then we're just going to wrap this up. You know, I know the build process was a little bit, you know, lengthy, and we did have, well, after we got done getting it dynoed and tested and we brought it home, I GoPro'd that video on the drive home, and it was really pretty emotional. I'm going to give you guys just some snippets of that because, you know, we had it up at my buddy Tim Matherly from MV Performance. He did the dyno pulls and did, you know, the testing just to make sure everything was okay. And but that drive home from Tim's shop back to the house was a little bit emotional, and I'll go over that with you guys. More of a wider angle here just so you guys see. I love the stance. Again, you know, the things that we've done on this truck to keep it as original as we can. I'll throw some parts or some pictures up of like replacing all of the moving part, the suspension, the steering arms, you know, the new drive shaft cut. We did leave the drum brakes on the back. I will do a conversion on that, but we do have the lowering springs. I mentioned that before. But I mean, guys, like this truck is exactly how my uncle would have wanted it, right? It's his. He still has the bench seat, which he liked. I still have the mag wheels, which were his. I did lower it a little bit than we'd always talk about, but it has the big block that he always talked about, right? So there's still some work to be done on the paint, even though I've just kind of buffed it out. I haven't gotten full-on paint correction done yet. I'm going to deal with the little bit of rust on the drip rail first, but we're not going to get rid of the patina. My boy really likes it. Again, one of the coolest, like you could see the patina here on the front, like it looks cool, man. So we're probably going to get this all done up and then just clear over it and just kind of leave it how it is, but give it a little bit of protection with another layer of clear. But he also, if we actually get into the paint, my uncle actually has all of this trim, all of it, every piece new in GM packaging in the GM box that I picked up at his house when I picked up the truck, so I can have brand new OEM trim replacements for that. We did do 2, which I'll show you here. We did do the new kick panels here, new carpet when we did that, but again, the new kick panels, everything looks amazing here. This is the original factory hardware, the original factory seat. We just had it reupholstered. The foam was in good shape, so we didn't have to deal with that. And again, most of the chrome came out pretty freaking awesome. It's dirty as all get out right now, but the chrome came out awesome. It just took some elbow grease to get it there, but just wanted you guys to get a better picture. There's such great light right now to see this truck. I mean, look at that. Gosh, what an amazing truck. That is absolutely awesome. I mean, guys, you guys have to think it. Like, the values of these square bodies right now are red hot. You know, everybody wants one. They're very high demand. Every time I drive mine to town, somebody offers to buy it from me. Again, I'm not selling it, just, you know, the nature of, you know, kind of what that truck means to me. But when you look at this, like, you know, these, you know, restored or semi-restored trucks, you know, this is not a full-on resto mod. This is not a full-on restoration either. It's kind of in the middle, but it's a really, really good example. Factory paint, Everything has been redone on it. You know, it's got factory gauges, all the other stuff. You know, you're talking about, you can probably get 50 grand for this truck the way it sits right now with a big block in it and just kind of the tasteful restoration that's been done. If it was a full-on restoration to true specs, I mean, you know, these things are going for 70, 80 grand. It's crazy, man. I love this truck, though. It's really cool. It takes me back to my childhood. You know, my uncle would pull into the neighborhood, put it in low gear, and just do a burnout. That's kind of what he was known for, you know. He would always come in and make all the kids jump up and down. He'd come in and do a big burnout in this truck. But, you know, that's what these trucks are, right? You know, they're a snapshot in history. You know, we're not going to get trucks like these anymore. And honestly, even now, here we are, 2024, and the square body styling still holds up. It still looks good. There's still a really good looking truck. Now you can take this to the max. You can drop it. You can put it on bags. You can do all kinds of, you can put modern type wheels on it. And these trucks do look good as resto mods. Don't get me wrong, but I wanted to keep this kind of true to what my uncle's vision was on it. And still, even with that, it's one badass truck. It looks so good. I love the way it looks. And every time I see it, it puts a smile on my face. Again, it made 350 horsepower and over 500 pound-foot of torque. I mean, it's a torque monster. It's easy. There's no weight in the back. It's easy to do donuts. You just put your foot down and it just donuts for days. So burnouts for days. It's amazing. But just kind of wanted to kind of give you that. But it's crazy how much value these trucks have now and how much people want these trucks. All right, so we just pulled it back into the garage here. But what I wanted to show you real quick was, so this was the original, and I'll throw a picture up here in the window or an overlay over top of it. This is the original 350 small block that came in the truck that we pulled out that we're going to end up rebuilding and just having as a backup. We'll probably do a 383 stroker on that. I did sell the valve covers just because, you know, I wasn't going to have a need for them, and we're going to do some different heads on them. But this is the original small block. It's a 4-bolt main. It has 52,600 original miles on it, and we are going to be rebuilding that here shortly, just to have as a backup, just fun, just also to kind of teach my boy how to rebuild an engine. Okay, YouTube, so that's it for today, man. I just had to bring this story to you guys because it meant so much to me and my son. It was a heck of a project. It was 2 years as far as the restoration goes. We did it right here in this garage. It was a lot of work. Honestly, if it was not my uncle's truck, I would not have spent that much time, that many hours doing it, and I won't do that again. There's no way I would buy another old classic car and spend 2 years restoring it myself. I would just buy one redone. I mean, I had packages arriving every day. Like pretty much everything underneath the skin of this truck is brand new. We did the entire suspension. We did power disc brakes. We redid all that in the front. We did all new brake lines. We did everything. So a lot of work, but you know, it was worth it in the end. I love this truck. You know, it's a great tribute to my uncle, who's one of the big reasons I'm into cars, and you know, that's kind of how I learned. You know, they did all kinds of crazy stuff. They had big block, you know, what was it, Vegas, the little Chevy Vegas. They had big block Vegas that they were racing back in the day. My uncle's crazy. My dad had a 70 Plymouth Duster with a 340. They had a lot of cool cars back then that we worked on that, you know, we were a part of helping out. But again, just looking at this from a tribute standpoint, it's just a great way for me to keep his spirit alive. This will go to my son, obviously, this truck. But, you know, we did, you know, this was actually, we replaced the windshield because it had a big crack in it, but all the rest of the glass is factory. I have to put the rear view mirror back up in, but all the rest of the glass is factory. All the paint is factory. So, and then the Western wheels we left, and you can't even get those anymore. Just getting the actual center caps was an absolute pain, and they are super expensive just because they don't make them anymore. But just wanted to bring this, guys, to you now that we have a bigger audience. We have a channel. I just deserve that I just feel that the story deserves to be heard. Hopefully this video does well, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, share, comment on it. Help us get this video some traction so people can see this amazing truck and this amazing story for a tribute for, you know, an amazing man that was one of the biggest, you know, influences on my life growing up, and one of the reasons why I'm so into cars and muscle and all that for today. That's it for today, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with us. I know it may have been a little bit wordy. There wasn't as much action in this one just because it was more of the story behind it, and you guys could see the truck. I do have some flybys that we put in, some other pictures that we put in. Like I said, you know, it makes 350 horsepower, over 500 foot-pound of torque. It's definitely old school muscle. It's a great, cool cruiser. Everywhere I take it, somebody offers to buy it. I'm never selling it. You know, I'll die. This will go to my son. Whatever he does with it at that point, it'll be his. But thanks for following along with us, guys, today. Please help us out. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.